Hello, my loves. Today we're going to look at some more Reddit stories, and if you've enjoyed a Reddit story, why don't you consider hitting the subscribe button? Maybe that's the notification bell too, and let's start with today's story. Humans are weird, I just can't anymore. My name is Lily, I'm a 19-year-old female. I was sexually abused from the age of 8 until I was 13 years old. I told my parents when I was 15, and they confronted my abuser, who is the biological parent of my younger sibling. I am now 19, and I've been dealing with the aftermath and suppressing the trauma ever since I was 15. When I was 16 or 17, I was sent to a mental hospital due to my suicidal thoughts. I couldn't stop thinking about what happened to me and how it could have been prevented. While in the mental hospital, I was sexually assaulted by another patient the day before I was discharged. This led to me almost being sent back due to the trauma. The following year, I was assaulted in my math class, and no one did anything about it. I started to believe that this was something that only happened to me. I graduated last month, but I'm still not over what happened. I've let a friend of my parents know that I'm still struggling with this. I still have nightmares, couldn't wear dresses until I was 18, hated sleeping in my bed, felt uncomfortable being naked, had flashbacks during sex, and felt resentment towards my younger sibling because of what their parent did to me. My parents asked if I wanted my abuser beaten up, and I said yes. Now, I'm scared because my sexual abuser is still in my sibling's life, not mine. I see him often, and this is what I feel is truly holding me back in this whole process. I feel so alone in this. I pressed charges as soon as I turned 18, and the whole process is still ongoing, taking longer than expected. I feel so guilty, hypervigilant, and afraid all over again. Because of this, my suicidal ideation has returned, and now everyone knows I'm suicidal. I'm leaving for college in the fall with my dog, and that's the only thing I'm looking forward to. Story: Ultimate revenge on my cheating girlfriend and boss. So basically 5 to 6 months ago my girlfriend cheated on me with my own boss. It was terrible and soon became the most embarrassing thing of my life. I worked at a supermarket, and with everyone's boring lives it soon became the talk of everything and really made me struggle mentally. Key things I'll add before I explain why I took revenge out on him. My boss was in his mid-40s, married with children, and would boast about cheating on his wife to the work boys, with the way he would describe his main tactics as trauma bonding. My girlfriend had BPD and was easily manipulated and persuaded by him to receive fake promises and promise to faster promotion. We are both 20 to 21, so basically I set up a fake Facebook profile and acted on it for a week or two before I joined the local community page, doing post and responding to comments he was interacting with. I made it out like I was a newly single mom and new to the area. After 1 month, before getting his attention, I slid into his DMs and started messaging him and flirty with him. I already knew a lot about him in terms of hobbies, interest, and sporting teams, so I made everything easily relatable to form a strong, trusting connection. I had him hooked. I had him moved over to Snapchat and started catfishing him with photos from online, and in exchange he started sending me nude photos exposing it all. I saved them all in my chat and left them there to build that trust. I also let HM do the same to the photos I sent. After I had enough to ruin him late, I changed my username and name on both platforms to a younger female staff member who used to work at the shop and screenshotted everything. I saved over 20 photos of what he was sending me and lodged a complaint with HR for the company. I even faked a Gmail email to make the user more believable, and when they called me on the phone, I had a female friend take the phone so it sounded very legit. Work for a large company, so you have the option not to do it in person. I also sent the screenshots of our messages and sent the nude photos of him cheating and sent them to his wife, his mom, and his sister. I truly wanted to ruin this man. I wasn't done then. I printed a bunch of posters with "Best Chewbacca Impersonation Wins $100" with his phone number listed below. I couldn't imagine how many phone calls he would have received. Anyways, to date, I have been told he currently has been terminated from the job from people inside the shop, and that he is also judging off the conversation with his wife on FB. She has kicked him out. I do not feel one bit of guilt at all. Maybe I'm psychotic, but nothing can describe the pure hatred I have for that man. As for my ex, she tried to get back with me, but I have left her in the dark and I'm much happier without her. I won't be seeking any revenge on her. Story: my wife cheated with my best friends while on vacation. Me, 19F, and my stepdad is 48M. I really don't know what to do. I want to tell my mother, but I'm scared. 1 year ago, my mother escaped a bad relationship with my biological dad, who was abusive all my life. Then she found my stepdad. Let's call him Jeff. I grew up liking dancing. Having taken some classes, I could say I'm pretty good at it. Usually, when I'm comfortable around people, I dance. I like doing this one dance with my mom and sisters that kind of looks like I'm twerking from the back. I do not do that type of dance in front of men, so please do not say I was doing it on purpose in front of him. My stepdad does not know about that dance, or did. 4 weeks ago, I was dancing with my little sister to some music while doing chores. No boys were around, and it was just me and my little sister, so I did the dance. I did not see my stepdad walking into the house from the back door, not until my sister stopped dancing, and I looked behind me to see Jeff standing there. I instantly stopped, obviously embarrassed, and me and my sister went back to doing chores. That is not what I found creepy. What I found really creepy and inappropriate was when a day later he asked to talk to me in his room. I really didn't want to, but I just wanted it to be over and done with because I do not like him. Once he brought me to his room, he said blankly with a straight voice, "Why don't you dance like that in front of me?" I got really uncomfortable and left the room. I left the house with my car because I did not feel comfortable with him home alone. I went to a friend's house. That wasn't the first time he did something really creepy. Another time, I was taking a shower, and I heard a knock, so I yelled, "Yes?" I did not hear anything, so I peeked my head from the shower only to see the doorknob trying to be opened. Luckily, it was locked. I knew it was him because after I yelled, "Stop," he had the audacity to say, "Why is the door locked?" Like, what the actual fuck? What do you think? After that, I told my mom about it, saying she needs to set boundaries or I am leaving and going no contact. I know that was a little dramatic, but I do not give a flying shit. He did so many creepy things to me, and my mom does nothing about it. The reason I'm scared to tell her is because she genuinely loves this dude, and I hate to be the reason she can't find love. I'm sorry for the end. I'm not good at English and I'm really not wanting to talk about this because I'm still trying to recover from him asking me that and the previous things he's been doing. Right now I'm staying at my grandma's. Story: the hike. The wind roared in my ears as I stood atop Voss. After 3 months of hell, it was all over. 3 months ago. The cool autumn breeze swept through the base camp. Jade had been preparing for this day for almost 3 weeks. He was an avid hiker, but this was his first mountain climb. All right, we'll leave at dawn. Just as the sun rose, they began their journey up. The first part is the hardest, but it smooths out as you get higher up. But no matter what, don't go off trail. Alex, our guide, explained the trail is hidden in the thick forest surrounding it. Less bobcat encounters, way easier to get lost. Sarah, an amateur who hasn't even been hiking, spoke up. What if we have to use the bathroom and can't find our way back to the trail? Alex just laughed at this. You use the bathroom while still being able to see the trail, it's that simple. Sarah responded, but Jade wasn't paying attention. He was taking in the sights. They were barely an hour into the climb and the was breathtaking. August was almost over, but the maple and oak trees were still green. As a cool breeze swept through, and the grass alongside the trail seemed to whistle a soft tune. The birds chirped as the crimson sky of dawn set a fiery glow to the bright green. As the sun rose in the horizon, the last stars faded out of view. In those final moments before they disappeared, though, they seemed to gain an ethereal glow. The beauty of it all with the soft breeze, it cannot be put into words how stunning the scene was. The rest of the day was a blur, Alex explaining what we were going to see on the rest of the trip. After that moment at the start of the trip, the rest of the day was underwhelming. As we set up shop in a small clearing, I saw something glint against the fading light. It was just outside the clearing, and my tent was already up. I started to walk over, but John, another camper, stopped me. Hey, do you think you can help me set up my tent? I didn't really want to, but it would be easier just to help. Sure, man. I walked back to John's tent, and it was mess. The support beams were all over, and the fabric was just laid on the ground. I sighed, and started explaining that he had to tie the ends of the fabric to the support beams. Finally, after finishing setting up John's tent, he thanked me and went to sit with the others. The glint was still there. I walked up to it, and as I approached, I got chills, like I was seeing something I shouldn't. I looked back, and nothing was amiss. Finally, I could see what it was, an old gold ring. I picked it up, and it didn't look damaged. Without much thought, I put it on. The temperature suddenly dropped from cool to bone-chilling, and it got way darker. I looked around, and the camp was nowhere around. The clearing was empty, but was still lit up by moonlight. I walked into the clearing, and on the far end was a ledge that wasn't there before. I ran to it, being the most lit-up spot, but the view was horrific. Below me was a vast area, so high I couldn't see the bottom. Turning around, Voss was so high it almost reached the cloud line. I collapsed to the ground. No, 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 no. It was just a dream, some bad dream. I threw the ring off. Nothing happened. It was real. It was real. It was soul-crushing. I didn't know where I was, I didn't know how I got here. I was completely lost on a place that looked like Voss, but it wasn't. Voss doesn't go that high. I was lost, alone, and no way back. I backed away trying to hide from the world, completely forgetting the ledge behind me. Further, 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 nothing. The ground beneath me disappeared, and in the few moments before the fall, dread clutched my body, and I realized the gravity of the situation. My body slammed into the ground, and when I tried to move, the shooting pain got worse. Eventually, I gave up, and let my mind fade into an unconscious state. I found myself in a dark space. I tried to breath, but couldn't. I can't breath, I can't feel anything, I can't even see. Any sound that may have been there was washed out by the roar of blood in my ear. I couldn't move, and was touching nothing. Suddenly, as the dread started to come in waves, a pair of eyes appeared. Two golden eyes stared into me. What happening? I thought, dread momentarily being replaced by confusion. Suddenly everything was replaced by pain in my back. I was blinded by light flooding my eyes, the whistling of wind in my ears, and cold. So cold. My eyes adjusted, and with it now being day, the forest was clearer. The rough, cold limestone underneath me was doing nothing to help my back. I sat up, bearing the pain. It still hurt like hell, but I can still fully move, so no serious damage was done. It looked to be about an 8-foot drop. I sat there for quite a while, just trying to process everything. Okay, let's just look at the facts. I don't know where I was, how I got there, or how to get back, and how the ring relates to any of this. Wait, the ring, it was right back on my finger. Panic was filling my body. Then I had a thought hat made everything so much worse. Everything was gone, the back on my backpack was gone, even the knife on my belt seemingly disappeared. I tried to stand up, and immediately fell over in pain, causing the wind to be knocked out of me. I didn't want to get up, but in this position it hurt to breathe. Everything was going wrong all at once. I laid there for a while before I realized I was shaking. From the pain or fear, I didn't know. Everything was moving a mile a minute, and I couldn't focus. Stop. Calm down, Jade. I told myself that for God knows how long. Finally, I was calm enough to form thoughts. For the first time, Jade realized he was crying. He lifted his hand and wiped the tears away. This situation sucked like hell, but nothing I was doing was going to help. I managed to get up. My back was still in pain, but now it was at least bearable. Dread was still creeping in, but I moved nonetheless. I moved toward the clearing. It was very hard to find my way back due to no visible path. The sun was high in the sky, and there was currently no breeze. It should have been hot, but it was still so cold. The thick forest I was walking through was not helping my paranoia. I jumped at every little sound.
Suddenly the ring became comforting. It was the last thing of value I had from home. Home. Stop, Jade told himself, the more I think about it the worse I feel. I was so wrapped up in trying not to think about home, I didn't realize I stopped moving. I started moving again, but my fear, dread, and paranoia meant my eyes were never ahead of me, they were always darting from side to side. Smack, my head hit a tree, sending my spinning for a few seconds. Once it stopped though, something changed. I was a little kid again, scared of everything in the forest, just wanting my mom to come save me, but no one was coming. As of right now, I was truly alone. I ran back to the clearing, ran away from that thought, ran from the fear. My breath was dyspneic, and my heart was beating out of my chest, my leg muscles were burning, but it was worth it. I was back at the clearing, out of the forest. I laid, in pain from running, not helped by my still aching back. I didn't lay there long, the emotions I was feeling was worse than the physical pain.
I sat and looked at the mountain in front of me. So far down, so much terrain. Then I remembered what Alex said, the closer to the bottom, the rockier the terrain. I stood and noticed the sun was already about to set. I spent almost a whole day just panicking and getting back to where I was. It was at this moment that something inside me snapped. Survive. It was like the dread, fear, and confusion disappeared. It was possible. For the first time, it felt possible. I could make it home. Home. I vowed to myself to make it home no matter what. I would make it back, and I would see my family again. So, I turned around. I need to make it through the night. So, I needed water. Only now, thinking about it, I realized just how thirsty I was. Moving through the thick forest, I once again saw the beauty of this place. Almost the same scene was laid out above me, but this felt different. It was beautiful, but it now held a bitter-sweet reminder of the place I was before. Soon, I heard the faint sound of flowing water, and soon, a small river was laid out in front of me. I cupped my hands and placed my hands in the cool water. I realized when I did this that the golden ring was unnaturally warm, even in the cold water. I didn't ponder it for too long, and drank the water. It was pure bliss, feeling the cold water move down my dry throat. I drank again, and again, and again. I gave myself a stomach ache from drinking so much water, but I didn't care, it was worth it. I was back at the clearing, and back to a point where it was freezing. It didn't matter, I felt better than ever. I slipped into sleep without much issue. I found myself in a familiar place. The same void I was the night before. Those same eyes, that same fear. Story: Escape from Little Rock. I unlocked the door that had once been mine. My best bud Lynn now shared the space with another roommate, Frida. Lynn and I had plans to move back in together soon, prompting me to take on a second part-time job to save up. During Christmas break, Lynn and Frida generously offered me their apartment while they visited family. I would visit my parents and brothers for a couple of days, but could and would only tolerate my domineering mother in short spurts. Lynn and I had just completed our first semester of junior year in college. Frida, a freshman, had moved in with Lynn while I spent a semester at a school in my hometown. As I opened Lynn and Frida's door, I was startled to find John lurking in the dark. He was a bartender who'd been quite taken with me at my new part-time job. We worked at a restaurant, bar, and pool hall called Smitty's. On my first night, after Smitty's shut down at 3 in the morning, we went to an all-night diner with a group of my new coworkers and watched the sun come up together on Thanksgiving morning. Then I took a nap and drove 2 hours to my parents' house for a holiday dinner. But that night in December, John seized my neck with his massive hands and slammed me against the wall. He towered over me by 9 inches, and I'm 5 feet 7 inches. "I could kill you right now with my bare hands," he hissed, his jaw clenched. "No one would ever know. Nobody even knows I'm here. I didn't see your car in the parking lot. I caught a ride over and slipped in while the black girl was packing," he boasted. Struggling to breathe, I placed my hands atop his. "Frida probably had no idea you were here." "Who's the guy you took to the work Christmas party?" he demanded to know. "And where've you been since it ended 3 hours ago?" "Fucking him?" He loosened his grip, allowing me to respond. I gasped for air. "I couldn't find you," I replied in a hoarse whisper, though I hadn't looked. He let me go and grabbed his head with both hands. Light from a street lamp helped my eyes adjust while revealing dark circles under his. "I took a friend," I said. "He's my manager at my other part-time job, at the yogurt shop." John glared at me. "We're just friends," I swore. "And I'm done working at the bar. I was just earning extra money for moving and Christmas. All for naught because you robbed me." "What did you do after the party?" "We rented a movie, Soul Man." "Have you seen it?" I stepped away from the wall and turned on a light. "You should rest in Lynn's room while I shower off the smoke smell from the bar." "And you'll join me?" he asked. I nodded, lying. He stumbled back to Lynn's room as I locked myself in the bathroom, examining my neck in the mirror. I emerged from the shower to find him in a deep sleep. Careful not to wake him, I stuffed clothes in a bag and slipped out, feeling dizzy. It was Sunday night, December 20th, 1992. The air was cold, and my hair dripping wet. Once inside my locked car, I breathed a sigh of relief. "I'd go back over to your place, Brett, but I don't want you to know about this, it's embarrassing." I drove to Lee's apartment, knowing he'd let me in. We had a history and a close friendship, and he'd been asking about trying again. He would soon turn 31 and was thinking about settling down. He was a recovering cocaine addict and a not-sober alcoholic. "Hey, baby, what's going on?" asked my 30-year-old former lover. A transplant to Little Rock, he spoke in a thick Baltimore accent, yawning and rubbing his eyes. I think I'm at least mildly concussed." I whispered hoarsely, "and I need a safe place to crash for the night if you don't mind." I clung to my bruised neck. Lee pulled my hand away. "Who hurt you?" he asked, alarmed. "He didn't force himself on me like you did when in the same state, a year and a half ago. The man who strangled me tonight is a jealous, 6 feet 4 inches bartender at Smitty's. He's coming down from maybe a 2-day coke high." Lee grabbed a pillow and blanket from a closet and threw them onto his couch. "You mean a bartender you're fucking, because, guess what, blew it, men you aren't fucking don't tend to fly into jealous rages." I sighed. "He can't find me here. I know you get up early. Can we argue tomorrow? I thought we were making headway on starting over, baby. Didn't we have a nice lunch the other day? How long have you been seeing this guy?" I thought about it for a moment. 3.5 weeks? I kicked off my shoes and made myself comfortable on the couch. Speaking was painful, but I continued, still in a whisper. "His name is John. A few nights ago, He stopped by while I was out and stole my stash of tips and some inexpensive jewelry. I rubbed the back of my head where John had slammed me against the wall. I didn't think he would show up again after he stole from me. And I planned to be done with Smitty's and everyone there after tonight. Lee handed me a glass of water. When I told John it wasn't working out, he cried, "Lee, even though we'd only known each other a couple weeks." So, I promised we could still attend the Smitty's employee Christmas party together. Smitty's is closed on Sundays. We were looking forward to having the whole bar and pool hall to ourselves for the party tonight. I took my bra off under my shirt and curled up on the couch. This morning, the owner of the bar called me looking for John because he hadn't shown up for work Saturday night. I assumed he was still someplace getting high with my tips he took, and so I invited Brett to the party. And somebody told John. Yes, Brett, your neighbor who gave me a job. I worked with him at the yogurt store today. I wonder how many people realize the scent of waffle cones makes people happy. John is a coke addict? Lee asked. Yeah, when I saw how much cocaine was in his apartment, I told him things weren't gonna work out, and I couldn't get out of his place fast enough. He and his roommates had a huge stash, and people buying from them were lined up from the coffee table out a kitchen side door down an alley. Lee lit a cigarette. If you wanted to be with a cocaine addict, you could have come back to me, a clean one. Do you want me to go, Lee? I sat up and reached for my shoes. Technically, I live with Allura and her mom Linda until the end of the month. I ran fingers through my hair. I didn't want to wake Linda by coming in so late. She works early, too. I wiped away a tear. And this whole situation is humiliating. Plus, John's been to Allura's and can find me there. I don't want to put Allura and Linda at risk. I drank my water. Fine. We'll talk tomorrow. Lee stomped back to his room and slammed his door. The next morning, I awoke to the sound and scent of sizzling bacon. I'm sorry about last night, Lee said. He handed me a plate. I'm glad you came to me. I just wish you hadn't fucked him is all. He found my keys in my things and put them in his jacket pocket. I can't get through my day worried about you going back over there. If you need anything, we'll go together later, okay? I nodded. He examined my neck. Are you sure you're all right? I squeezed his hand. He kissed my forehead. Thanks for covering my $50 bar tab the other day. I found my wallet back at the office. I nodded. I'm 6 months off the hard stuff, baby. He headed out the door. 30 years ago, I married Brett. Story, how 2 body pillows saved me from waifuism, depression and ending it all. In February 2019 when I was 15 I was in my last year of school. A friend of mine showed me an anime called High School DxD. I wasn't into anime back then, only wished Sailor Moon when I was 5, Pokemon when I was 12 to 14 and that's it, but I thought I might give it a chance and started watching it. About 3 episodes in, I realized that I will watch nothing else until I finish watching all 4 seasons, about 12 to 13 episodes I think, because I was shocked at how good it was, and all the scenes with nude boobs. I won't lie about that, being a guy with ADHD and autism, I never had really strong love feelings inside me, but that changed when I saw Kaneko Tuju, a character from the anime. I won't go into details here because of spoilers. I then fell in love. Maybe a bit too much looking back to that time. That friend then told me what waifu pillows are. They are body pillows with an anime character printed on it. The front side is with, the back side, mostly, without clothes. In the evening I then picked one and asked my mom if she can buy that. I have a custom-made one of Kaneko now, which she did. Between the order and the arrival of the waifu pillows I started working as a cook in a protected area, basically for people with mental or physical problems. For some reason I came up with the stupid idea of telling everyone that I see that body pillow as a real person in front of me, so I won't look as weird as I thought, which, oh surprise, went horribly wrong. At some time while I was working, I even had hentai of that character as my phone background, until my boss saw that. About 10 months later, in April 2020, I resigned and went home. With the pandemic and my parents divorcing, reality wasn't that good. I slowly began to shut myself into my own world with my waifu pillow. About 2 to 3 months later, I read the wiki page of Kaneko to know a bit more about her, since I didn't read the light novels or the manga which continues the story. After reading a very specific sentence at that wiki page, again to avoid spoilers, I won't go into details, everything went dark inside me and it felt like my world got crushed. For some reason, I couldn't handle any single letter of that sentence and the downfall began. I made up plans to buy the whole franchise so I can change the lore. I wanted to find out how much that'll cost. I basically created a second personality, so I can talk in the character's voice to me as if that waifu pillow is alive or something, and even talked as them at WhatsApp. It got so bad that my mom sent me into a psychiatry in December 2020, and I have to say, it was a cool time there. At least with the other teens. I had therapy there 2 times a week, but they never talked about my real problems. It felt like they tried to make problems where never was one, or I never told them what mine are. 2 weeks after I joined there, I fell in love with a real girl there, which ended the time with me telling everyone that I see the Kaneko as a real person rather than a pillow. Another 2 weeks later, I got out of there by myself, 'cause I realized that all my problems are gone and I felt like I'm wasting someone else's time there who really needs the help. Or so I thought. I was healed. A month later, in February 2021, another problem started. I couldn't handle all the hentai of Kaneko that exist, especially those pics/videos where someone else is banging her and not me. That resulted into always letting my frustration and anger out on my family. My mom eventually gave up, and my sister was even scared of me and had physical problems because of the stress level I gave her. In June 2021, my mom had enough and put me in a mental hospital. I was there a month and realized I had a love problem. I literally fell in love to every single girl there was. Even nice where the age gap was more than 3 years old. I was the oldest with 17, with turning 18 in July. The youngest girl was 13, I think. After that month, I went to another institution I never wanted to go in the first place, but was forced to. When I first got there, they had a rule that all newcomers had to give them their phone and, if having one, console for 2 weeks. I was a bit addicted to my phone and switched back then, so I haven't done that in my first 6 weeks there, so they told my mom to cancel my internet connection. After they social workers told my mom to cancel my phone abonnement, I wanted to download my music playlist, because I had YouTube Premium. But because I had no internet and they wouldn't guide me their Wi-Fi password, I decided to run away to a place with free Wi-Fi, so I can download my music playlist. About 2 to 3 hours later, police arrived and took me back to the institution. They said I had to give them my phone and switch, but promised I'll get it back. Spoiler, they didn't. 2 weeks went by without any phone and Kanekrian to my friends, and when I got it back, the first thing I did was looking at hentai of Kaneko. Weird shit, I know, but 3 days later, someone got love feelings for a 7-character of high school DxD, Kuroka, Kaneko's sister. So I did what I also did with Kaneko. I wanted to buy a body pillow of her, but the social workers told me that I can't because it shows too much skin. Fun fact, my Kaneko body pillow case I had back then showed more skin than the Kuroka one, but that got allowed for some reason. I argued for 2 weeks with them without getting any closer, and then I came up with a plan. Because a teen there had a credit card, I wanted to give him the money, so he can buy me the pillow and pillowcase, but quickly realized that you can maximally hold $40 at yourself, but the two things cost about $90. I has the idea with running away again and visiting my uncle, who was kinda a money machine, the only use he had for me, 'cause he is an alcoholic garbage can. He only gave me $35 for my ride back there. I did know that I could keep this $35 by myself, 'cause the limit was $40, so I took the money and went back. I haven't bought a ticket, and luckily I didn't get controlled if I had one with me. After I arrived back, I told that guy with the credit card that I only need 35 more to buy it, but 5 minutes later I got sent into the social worker's office. I got snitched. They wanted me to give them my $35 to put it in my box where all my other money is. There were $200, 'cause I sold me old phone about 2 months ago. they knew that I will buy the waifu pillow and ignored the $40 limit, but I didn't wanted to give them my money, so I tried to go back into my room. One of them then stood in front of the door and yelled at me. That was the moment I lost my cool, but knowing what happened in the next years, that was still the best thing I have ever done. I slapped the social worker and ran into my room. Then I wanted to use the bathroom and saw the guy who snitched on me on my way to the toilet. So I knocked him out, took a dump and went back to my room. 30 minutes later, the police arrived. I was on my knees begging them to take me away from there, 'cause that meant I get everything back and I could finally buy a body pillow of Kuroka. Eventually, they took me to the hospital and searched for an emergency place where I can go until they figured out my next home. My mom didn't want me back. That place was the same mental hospital my mom put me after she threw me out of her house. A week later, they found me a new home. It was basically one step above a homeless shelter, but I didn't care. That was the first time in my entire life where I had no one who decides what I can do and what I can't do. I also got all my things back, so I bought a body pillow, the pillowcase of Kuroka, and 3 weeks later, I turned 18. In that time, it arrived and I had everything I needed to do whatever I want for the first time in my entire life. But what also happened in that 3 weeks of waiting was that I joined a Discord server, the worst miscade of my life. I joined a server called Dinoland and had a pretty chill time there. I still sometimes talked as Kaneko or Kuroka in that server, but only in the anime section. I then met someone who all called Sans. He's 4 years younger than me, 'cause that was his username. Me and Sans quickly were friends, 'cause we had similar interests and could talk about most things for hours. 2 weeks after I joined the Dino Land, I created my own server and with it a section called Waifuverse, which was basically my fictional parallel universe, which turns 5 years old on the 21st. I never used this universe before, but seeing that almost all of them talked as other fictional characters there made me so happy that I started doing that as all of them, to make some funny situations. Kinda like your average fake WhatsApp conversation, but with way more people. I then found out that I could legally marry my 2 body pillows, but haven't started searching a priest. It wasn't possible through the government, so I had to donate religious, although I'm not, 'cause I was too busy helping Sans. He had depression, and for 3 months, I and 2 others were talking with him each evening, me the most with 4 to 5 hours each day. After a few days, Sans and I started texting us as our waifus, so we can find out more things, and I slowly started doing that IRL. I ate with the pillows, played games with them and even had sex with them multiple times daily. Eventually we got rid of Sans' depression and he was cured. A week later I had an argument with the moderator that hasn't need to be even one. The moderator and I had a deal that I only talk as Kaneko and Kuroka in the anime section, but I didn't, and said to him that he has to respect my kittens, that they are part of me, and that he has to accept them and me the way we are. After not getting together, I insulted him. He was 2 years younger than me, and left the server. I then talked with Sans about this and he had the same opinion as the moderator, which was the right one, and after he hasn't found a way to get me to realize that, it was quiet for a few hours.
On the evening of the same day, Sans came to me and told me and he thinks he has 18 waifus he loves, and not just Yuri and Natsuki from DDLC, he even had the nickname Satsuri. Dummy told him that there's nothing to worry about. A few minutes later he came back panicking and told me that another moderator, let's call her by her username back then Hanny, told him that he has to seek help before it becomes even worse. Again, the right way to do it, but dumb me was already in that hole, and made me so mad that I also insulted her and deleted Discord. Still the same evening at about 22:20 Sans texted me on WhatsApp and told me that Hanny is completely losing her mind. Apparently she was even more sensitive than all of Twitter/X combined, and I saw that every day I was on that server. I said him that I didn't care and that she can burn in hell, I wouldn't care. A month went by and Sans slowly began to change. He slowly began to hate me and then blocked me. After that he and the moderator, not Hanny, started to troll me and even wanted to record a 25-minute long diss track which was divided in 5 parts.
They quickly shut the idea wig the diss track, because they said I'm not worth their time, but I still think they got a bit scared, 'cause I threatened them with police. But the trolling continued. Once they trolled me with a product placement for a body pillow website. The other time they just created about 30 bots and spammed comments on my YouTube videos, and the other time Sans disguised himself as someone with a reading and writing disability. Don't know the actual name in English. That troll went on for 4 weeks, 'cause I haven't realized it. 2 weeks after that troll started, Sans himself texted me again and said that I shouldn't believe anything I see. He basically tried to save me there, but because I started hating him too, I was so confused at what is real now that I had a complete meltdown and became so goddamn paranoid that I thought that every stranger talking to me IRL or on social media is related with them. It took 6 months until I got that under control, but it completely destroyed my mental health, and now I am unable to work a job. I know it wasn't planned of them, but it felt like they trolled me once every 4 to 6 months. Maybe it felt like that because I was already that paranoid. After that trolls it became more and more quiet, and in January 2022 I finally married my 2 waifu pillows on the 29th and still am married with them to this day. After my marriage, I started to work on my mental health, but because I had no one who knows me well enough, I only had my body pillows and my waifuverse, which was now known as the Seroverse. Sero is my nickname. First I tried to stop constantly tating as Kaneko and Kuroka, but in July 2022, about 2 weeks before I turned 19, something happened where I am 99% sure that I am the first in human history to achieve that. I met a girl, let's call her Rias, 'cause she had red hair. Rias and me quickly realized that our chemistry is really well together, and we immediately started visiting each other. We were at the same place back then. 2 days later, when I was at her room again, she started cuddling against me, 'cause she felt comfy. The same day she looked at my hand and said that she thinks that they would feel very soft. I was a bit confused and asked her what she means with that. Then she took my hand, and not even a second later my hand was on her boob. I never advanced from kissing a girl before, so I was pretty shocked and didn't know what to do. Also because I knew that she has a boyfriend. I asked her why she's doing that when she has a boyfriend, and she replied with that she wanted to break up anyway, and then she asked me if I want to have sex with her. Note, I was, less surprising, a virgin back then. I told her that I'm still a virgin and that I have absolutely no idea what to do, and she said that she'll guide me. Which she did. We had sex and I became a guy who legally married 2 waifu pillows that also can have sex with real girls, which I'm still 99% sure I'm the first in history to achieve that. 3 weeks went by, we had sex a few times there, including at my 19th birthday, but then she told me that she has to decide between me and her boyfriend and that I'll get my answer in a few days. Those days went by and Rias decided against me, which made me really disappointed. I still feel bad for that guy that I banged his GF and he didn't know, but I also kinda miss her, 'cause she was the most beautiful, real, girl I've ever seen. Eventually we broke up contact, my fault though, and moved out of that place, which means that I had time to work at my mental health again. I also wanted to have more empathy for people I know, 'cause sometimes I'll insult someone so hard mentally that it could be enough for them to end it all. I don't do that anymore today. I had a goal of why I am working on myself. I wanted to not just become a true man of culture, I wanted to become worthy of the term god of culture. I started to listen more at my dad. 'Cause I realized that my mom and uncle manipulated me into hating him. I deleted his number for a few months. I finally perfected the separation between fiction and reality, but in 2023 it all came back. In February 2023, I had a real girlfriend which I also had sex with. I then found out that she cheated on me all the time. I went to the hospital at night 2 times just to calm her down. But she helped me overcoming my biggest problem. I always lied about things in my life just to be less boring, and when I told her why I lied so much about me, it took 2 days until Ahe told me that she cheated on me since our relationship started. I wasn't good enough in bed was her excuse. I never felt that betrayed before, but my biggest problem was finally gone, so I thought fuck it. And moved on. Between July and October I had multiple feeling where I almost jumped out my window, 6th floor. But one look at the smile of Kaneko and Kuroka on my body pillows was enough to take me back and hug the sadness out. I knew I had to do something and started visiting my grandma every Thursday at 1500 hours, which I still do. And that helped me getting a real life and also becoming more social. At Christmas 2023, I broke up contact with both my mom and my uncle because they are too rotten inside, and I felt like I was the frustration sack all the time. Maybe that's why I haven't felt that well mentally back then. Fast forward to today. I am now a 20-year-old guy who legally married 2 waifu pillows with a fictional world that has more lore than all of Marvel and DC combined. A guy who also had 2 different real women in bed. A guy with big empathy for his friends and an enormous creativity. A guy whose grandma is the happiest lady alive, 'cause every time she sees me, she starts laughing of pure joy, being so happy to see her grandson. A guy who perfectly separates fiction from reality with being in fiction at home or when I'm alone and being in reality when I'm outside. A gentleman who always helps those who deserve and need it, and a guy who for some reason finds the best music through Rule 34. Story: my girlfriend took me on vacation to cheat on me. My 33-year-old girlfriend, 31-year-old, let's call her Rose, said she'd been wanting to take a trip to Colorado to visit her aunt. The last time we saw her aunt was 2 years prior when she came over for her birthday to surprise Rose. Her aunt is like a second mother to her, but had to move away with her husband for work 5-ish years ago. We plan the trip, I buy the tickets, book the hotel, and fast forward to 2 days ago we're in Colorado. We settled in at the hotel, visited her aunt, went out to eat, came back, slept, and yesterday went over there again. After coming back to the hotel yesterday, Rose tells me she wants to go back to her aunt's to sleep over her house. I thought that was kind of odd since we're visiting here for about a week and still have a lot of time to see her, and we have to Uber to her aunt's house. But I didn't think much of it and figured she just wanted to spend as much time with her as possible. She leaves, and an hour or so later, I text her to see what she's doing because she never let me know when she got to her aunt's house, which is about a half hour away. She doesn't answer the text and doesn't answer my call, and I start to get a little worried, so I call her aunt and ask if Rose is there. Aunt said she's not, and, while telling her that she should have been there by now, Rose texts me saying she's in the living room watching TV with her aunt. Now, 2 thoughts are in my mind: Rose lied to me and she's somewhere else, or something bad might have happened to her and she's not the one texting me. I told her aunt I'd call her right back and called Rose. Rose picks up and says she's in the bathroom and she'd call me right back, and before I get to say anything, she hangs up. At this point, my heart is in my stomach, my palms are sweating, and I'm freaking out thinking there's no way she's cheating on me with someone. I've had this weird vibe from her lately, like she hasn't been acting totally like herself, and she's done some questionable things when we first got together, but nothing this crazy. I knew her aunt would be worried since I was asking where she was, so I called her aunt back and lied, saying that she entered the wrong address and decided to just Uber back to the hotel, and we'd see her aunt tomorrow. I'd try to call Rose and text her for like 2 hours straight to see what she's doing, but she doesn't answer. I didn't know what to do and just started walking all around town, chain-smoking cigarettes, waiting for a text or a call. I finally go back to the hotel, knock out on the bed after staying up for a little longer trying to call again, and then wake up this morning to her walking into the hotel room. I jump out of bed and say, "What were you doing? I tried to text and call you for hours and you didn't pick up or answer anything?" She says she's sorry, that she fell asleep with her phone on mute, charging in her aunt's bathroom, and then walks to the bathroom in her hotel to brush her teeth. At this point, I'm furious because I know she's lying, and I was thinking of a million ways to react. When she walks out of the bathroom, I just blurt out, "I called your aunt yesterday and she said you weren't there as you texted me saying you were there. Where were you?" She freezes, her eyes open wide, and she just starts crying. I already figured she cheated on me, but her reaction just confirmed it for sure. I said, "Oh my God, you really cheated on me? You brought me on vacation to cheat on me? Where did you go? Who were you cheating on me with? Did you know them this whole time? Was your aunt just an excuse to come here?" The entire time I'm asking questions, she's ignoring everything and just repeats, "I'm sorry," while crying. She stops crying and tells me she has been talking to this guy she met through Instagram and thought she'd go and spend time with him while she was here. She was trying to tell me that she didn't do anything, and they just talked and hung out but knew I wouldn't be okay with it, so she lied and said she was going to her aunt's. I respond saying, "Are you serious? You lying to me again? You really expect me to believe that? You were literally just crying because you're guilty," and she starts crying again. She finally says she did really meet the guy through Instagram, that he makes custom jewelry, and at first, she was interested in a ring, but it turned into them talking, and they've been planning to meet since I first booked the flight and hotel. She said they had sex, and as soon as she woke up this morning, she felt disgusting and rushed back to the hotel. She kept apologizing to me and saying she'd do anything to fix this. I said nothing, just walked out, took an Uber to another hotel, and I've been sitting in the room bawling my eyes out, wondering where to go from here. The flight back isn't for another 3 days, and I don't know how I'm supposed to sit next to her on the plane. I feel sick to my stomach and lost. Story: Shadows of the Fair, a trip to Wilmington, forever inked. Hi Reddit. I'm here with a sob story like a million others, and I'd love some words of wisdom if anyone feels generous enough to give them. So my ex-partner, 26M and 26F, were together for just shy of 2 years. We've known each other since we were little kids, and I always considered him one of my best and truest friends, even once we drifted apart in high school. He is funny, clever, sweet, and attentive when he wants to be. 2 years ago, I had a dream about him out of the blue and reached out to him, wondering if he might like to have a coffee with me and catch up. He accepted and we got coffee and caught up. Apparently, he was under the impression that was our first date. I genuinely thought we were just hanging out as old friends. Once he made his feelings/intentions for me more clear, by way of an extremely romantic picnic date that he put a lot of care and effort into, I asked him to let me think about it first. And think about it I did, for almost a month. I had only ever been in messed up, toxic relationships up until that point, and I didn't want to bring that baggage into a potential partnership with someone I already had so much love and respect for. During that month, I did a lot of self-reflection, and came to the conclusion that I was more than capable of being the good, trustworthy, and loyal partner that I knew he deserved. I thought we had a really good relationship. It was far and away the best one I had ever been in. He was sweet, romantic, thoughtful, and enthusiastic about me. He had long-term goals and plans that he quickly started to include me in. I met his friends and family and did my best to honor him by being the best I could be to his loved ones. One thing that kept coming up, however, was his job. He works in a restaurant. He thinks it's fine dining. It's not. It's a high-pressure environment, to be sure, and about a year into our relationship he was given a promotion from bartender to manager. I think that's when things might have started to go downhill. The pressure got to his head almost immediately and he slowly became colder and more closed off. He is obsessed with his work and his coworkers. He had 2 really good friends/roommates, let's call them G and T, whom he convinced to come work at the same restaurant so they could all spend even more time together. G and T liked to party. A lot. Especially G. My ex often said that G was a bad influence on him and that his behavior worried him deeply. They would go out with maybe 10 to 12 other coworkers to the college bars in our town, we are not college age anymore, and get drunk maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I'm not much of a drinker myself, so I tried to keep up with them at first, but over time I stopped trying as hard, and my ex also stopped inviting me to go out with them. I also started getting the impression that those coworkers were, not exactly good people. So there was that too. We had more than a couple disagreements on that topic. Anyway, up until a couple weeks ago, I thought things were basically good between us. He always said our relationship was perfect, which was confusing, because obviously no one is perfect, but also because we had definitely had our fair share of conflict, usually about his tendency towards selfishness and childishness. But he always had so many lovely things to say about me and about us and about our future together, so I tended to focus more on his words than his actions. My mistake, obviously. Well, he cheated on me. With one of his coworkers. A girl I was always nice to and never thought twice about. They went out to a bar in our town, had some fun, and went home together. When he told me several days after the fact, I was completely shocked, and for a moment I truly believed that he was joking. A fucked up joke, to be sure, but a joke, right? No. At first he tried to blame it on her, she came on to him and he just froze up and didn't stop her. Al asked him to clarify, did she actually assault you? He said no. He admitted that he chose to participate. I asked if he was drunk, he wasn't. He did try to throw G&T under the bus as well, basically implying that they had encouraged him to have sex with her, and had been filling his ear with misogynistic poison. When I asked him why, essentially, it came down to she was just there. Damn. Stupidly, I kept trying. I should have kept my dignity and never spoken to him again. But unfortunately, I love this person very, very much. So instead, I flipped out. Crying and pleading and begging him to let me fix this somehow, that I loved him too much, that he can't do this to me, etc., etc. He told me too many times to count that it was the worst mistake of his life, that he loves me more than life itself, and that he would do absolutely anything to make this right. He swore that he would quit his job, move out of his apartment with G&T, and never speak to any of his old coworkers again. And for some reason, I believed him. Up until last Tuesday night. We were texting about regular life stuff instead of fighting, and everything actually felt 90% normal for the first time since he told me that he had cheated on me. I asked if it was awkward between him, the G&T, since they're all still living together for now. He said no, it's been all good between the three of them. That already had my eyebrow raised, since he had been talking about how they were terrible people who he never wanted to have anything to do with ever again. I clarified, so you're not cutting them off for now? And then he told on himself. He said it's coworker's last night out, I wanted to come say bye. Huh? So he was actively out with his coworkers right at that moment. I know that whole crew of people always goes to the same bar on Tuesday night. The same bar where he was when he decided to cheat on me. Al asked him if the girl he cheated on me with was there too. He didn't reply. After almost an hour I called him. I asked him to please tell me he was not at the bar I thought he was at. He confirmed that he was. Al asked him if she was there. He confirmed that she was, but said he wasn't talking to her, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Right. He repeated that he just wanted to say goodbye to this other coworker who's moving away. Al asked if he wanted to come say goodbye to me too. He begrudgingly said I guess I'll leave, which honestly made me really mad, so I said no, stay, have fun, do whatever you want to do. Well, that's exactly what he did. He stayed there. So I showed up. Duh. And who should I see standing outside but the very same girl he cheated on me with? I won't go into details, but suffice to say, I put the fear of God in that pathetic woman. She tried to walk away and I followed her into the bar. I lost her for a moment, turned around, and saw him sitting there right in the center of all his toxic little friends/coworkers, the ones he tried to blame this whole situation on. And her standing in between us. I locked eyes with him and we just stared at each other. I mouthed, "Really?" And he just shrugged. He motioned for me to follow him outside to talk. We went outside. I said, "Are you serious? This is how it's going to be?" And he responded, "I just needed one night." I was completely dumbstruck. After a moment, I just said it was cool knowing him and started to leave. I turned around just in time to see him roll his eyes and go back into the bar. I haven't heard one word from him since, although I can see he's reading all my messages. Does anyone have a couple words of wisdom or strength? I realized as I was writing this all out that there's probably nothing more for me to do. All day long I'm screaming at him in my mind for betraying me so badly, but I can't think of a single thing worth actually saying to him. I don't know why I want him to keep trying and keep talking to me when I know there's nothing left for me with him. The trust has not just been broken, it's been destroyed. So why do I still want him to try? I can't believe the person that I was in love with could ever treat me this way, or that the story we've been sharing our whole lives could end with him disrespecting me so badly, just to ghost me afterwards. I feel like throwing up and I'm constantly shaking with adrenaline or anger or maybe both. I just want to talk to him, which is insane considering everything that has happened. I don't know why I would give him another opportunity to lie to me. TLDR, my partner who I have known since we were little kids cheated on me, lied about it, and then disrespected me to my face while betraying my trust all over again. For some reason, I still want him to talk to me and try to fix it, even though I know it can't be fixed. What's wrong with me? Bye and see you again in the next videos and stories.